Hello, BookTube. I'm Shawn the Book Maniac, and welcome back to Always Doing.
I'll take over your channel for a day. That's all right.
Yes, please. It's camera flip.
Camera flip.
This is Kazen from Always Doing. We've met for the first time a few hours ago, and we've had a fabulous day.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun. Going book shopping, but not buying anything. Because we're smart and we know there's a sale coming up, and we'll just have to revisit.
Book window shopping.
Yes. But it was fun.
We went to Kinokuniya Books at Shinjuku, near the south exit, and they're having a 20% off sale in about 10 days' time. So
thank you for telling me about that.
we made a long list, and we're going to go back and drop a bundle.
Definitely.
And otherwise, we went to another bookstore that has gone out of business.
I don't know what the story is behind that.
Used bookstores in this town is just pathetic.
Yeah.
So now we're back here, and we've got some nomimono. What are you drinking?
I am drinking amaretto on the rocks.
On the rocks?
Yes.
And I'm drinking apple juice, as usual. So, Kazen and I, our tastes overlap. What percentage would you say?
Well, they overlap in one genre, but I think that's because you read basically
That
one
genre only. Literary
of
fiction
literary
only.
fiction.
Yeah.
But I read a lot of other different stuff from sci-fi, fantasy, a lot of romance, nonfiction as well. But in literary fiction, we have some overlap.
We do.
I'm a little bit more plotty than you, I think, and I deal with fantastical
Plush.
elements maybe a little bit better than you do. But we do have stuff that we both like.
She's more fantastic than I am.
But we also have some things, there's some things we both like.
Yep.
There's some things we both hate. And there's some things that one of us likes, but the other one doesn't. So I have made a list.
This is going to be very interesting. I have not seen the list. So, and you did this as a Goodreads comparison.
So if people don't know
matchmaking thing.
Yeah, there's a compare books feature on Goodreads, especially if you're friends with someone. It's really easy to see how you both like things. So I went through there and I said, okay, so let's start with what we both like.
All right.
We should start on a positive note. So we both liked, and this is a book I just finished, but it's In Praise of Shadows by Tanizaki Junichiro.
Yes.
And I picked it up in part because you talked about
That's
it. Because you had said it was a book by a grumpy old man talking about Japanese aesthetics. And it was very interesting. And I found it to be exactly that. I absolutely loved it. And the translation was so good, I think. At least the writing was so good.
It was.
And
I don't remember the translation at all.
Yeah, Harper and Steinsticker, I think, are the translators there.
Steinsticker,
yeah. So it was just so good. And when I was done, I made notes and notes and notes.
Wonderful.
Because I had a physical copy, which I don't normally always have. So I actually had to write out all of my notes of all the good stuff. But things like how Japanese food, where was it here? With Japanese food, a brightly lighted room and shining tableware cut the appetite in half.
I should try that sometime.
But the whole idea of like a lacquer bowl being so dark.
Yes.
And then you can't...
A lot about darkness and light.
Yeah, and all the shadow.
Really.
And what I found interesting is it wasn't usually you hear like, because it's... The shadow's interesting because it lets you know there's light. Like because of the shadow we have light. And this is like, no. The shadow is pretty freaking cool. So I absolutely loved that. And you loved it too.
I did. And after that, I went on to read the Makiyoko Sisters, which is my favorite Japanese novel.
That's on my TBR now. So, yay. And I have one other book in this category, which...
We both loved.
Mm. And I put it on there because I was slightly surprised to see it on your Goodreads, but it was Anne of Green Gables.
Okay.
And I was wondering, should you give it 5 stars? And I was wondering if it was some Canadian patriotism that made you, or that you liked it because it was a Canadian novel, or you read it when you were young, or if there's some story behind it.
Well, some of that is definitely true. So my earliest memory of a reader, my first and most favorite audiobook narrator is my mother, because she read it to us, me and my sister and I, when I was about 7, or no, maybe I was 8, and my sister was 6. And I remember summer nights on the back porch, and my mom would read it to us.
That's awesome.
The uncle's name is Uncle Mac? Maybe. The uncle, the adoptive father.
Matthew,
I think. Dies.
Yes.
And that was my first...
Spoilers.
Spoilers, yes. That was my very first experience of death, was my mom reading that scene to me. And I was absolutely transfixed by it, and I asked her to read that scene over and over and over. So that's my earliest memory. So I loved the book as a child, and then I reread it maybe 4 or 5 years ago and loved it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Just I connect with Anne a lot.
Yeah.
It's like a smart girl, talks too much and uses big words, and just all the experience she has. And I didn't realize at the time, I knew when I was a kid that it was historical, but just like really seeing what it was like in the puff sleeves and the rest. And that Megan Follows version on PBS, on public television.
Was it it's Canadian
It's
one?
the Canadian one that came out in like the late 80s, early 90s, something like that. I absolutely love that. There's a new version now, apparently. Have you seen it?
No.
Not me either.
Now, you may or may not be aware that for a certain generation of Japanese women, Anne of Green Gables is a huge thing.
Because it was an anime.
That's right.
Yeah.
Even the translator is famous in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So many of my obasan, my grandma, Japanese students, they've been to Canada, but only one place. Prince Edward Island. Yeah.
That's cute.
Now, the younger generation don't care about Anne of Green Gables, but from my age up, all the women grew up with Anne of Green Gables. So
that's awesome.
Fascinating.
Yay. So next, books neither one of us liked. And this is kind of tricky, because this isn't going to be a hate for you. This isn't like a 1 star. This isn't a bail. But it's a book you gave 3 stars.
Okay.
Which for you is not a good rating.
That's right.
But for me, it's a decent rating. I tend to rate on a bell curve. Most books are 3 stars. This one I give 2, though.
Okay, so
And
your 2 is
I'm
probably
2
my
and you're
3.
3,
Yep.
kind of thing.
Great.
And it's The Clothing of Books by Jhumpa Lahiri.
Yes, it was.
Did something bother you about it, or was it just underwhelming?
It was underwhelming. I think my Goodreads review was, this was an interesting topic, and there were probably 3 interesting things to say about book covers, and she said them and several more. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just fluff.
Yeah, and I felt very similarly. And one thing that she talks about is like she wants to see more books in uniforms. She wants to see a line of books that are all related by genre or something else that have similar but different covers. And
Oh, I see. I disagree with that.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, and so what bothered me is like if you're
Fitzcarraldo.
looking, yeah, and if you're looking at the literary fiction, except for like the Fitzcarraldo editions or however sorry, I would say Persephone, right? Those are all, but also romance. Every Harlequin romance looks like a line. Those particular lines. Also, Avon does all these beautifully themed, and so Avon romance novels. They're historicals. Every author has their own font. They design a font for the covers. And so it makes their own name look extra gorgeous. And you can tell sometimes just by looking at the font, like, oh yes, this is Lisa Kleypas or whatever. So I wanted to be like, you need to get out of your section of the bookstore and check out some of the genre, because or sci-fi fantasy, the Mercy Thompson books, which is a book that you would probably never read, and that's cool. But like all of them are like a 3/4 shot of her. And if you put them all on a line, it's obvious they're a set. So I was just a little side eye at her.
But this is interesting because now
Yes?
I want my own font.
That would be cool.
Yes.
It would be would it be scrolly, or would it be very bold, or do you have any requirements, sans serif, or?
It would be lots of curly cues and multicolored and not a font of knowledge.
So,
But
yes,
please check out Jhumpa Lahiri's fiction. I
will
read
have
her collection of short fiction, her debut, The Interpreter of Maladies. There's no just stunning.
okay, excellent. So I won't judge her by that one.
Don't judge a book by its
nonfiction.
cover. Don't judge a
move.
writer by her book about book covers.
Good move. Good move. So the next book, I had a hard time finding a book that you liked and I didn't like.
Yes, because I don't like anything.
But you have a higher average rating than me on Goodreads.
Okay, I do give a lot of 5 stars
okay, that's
because
probably
my criteria for 5 star is if I loved it, it's 5 stars.
Okay.
There could be all kinds of flaws, but if they didn't get in the way of me loving it, it's a 5-star read.
I'm very picky with my 5-star reads. In
You are?
120 books a year, 4, maybe 5-star reads.
Yeah, I have 2 or 3 a month usually.
That makes, so that's probably where that comes in then, because my average is 3.11 and yours is 3.81.
Okay.
So, but anyway, it's still hard to find a book that he likes and I don't. So, but I did find, which I don't know if you read it recently, was The Good Earth.
I did read it recently.
And you liked it.
I loved it.
What made it good for you? Was it the writing or?
The writing and the plot, I thought it was just a masterfully told story.
So
Yeah.
I think my problem was that I was forced to read it in school.
Sure, that always happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that
just read it like
killed
a
it.
couple months ago.
Oh,
It
it was
was-
that recent.
Britta Böhler has a Nobel Women series. And
That's what it was. Yeah.
And I didn't get it read in time for her video discussion, but I read it over a 2-month period and just thought it was a really satisfying novel.
Excellent.
Emotionally and otherwise.
Maybe I should go back to it.
Or try another one of hers, or
that's true
whatever,
too.
right? This is her most famous. It is, apparently. But yeah, it really worked for me. But if I'd read it because I had to, I probably wouldn't have liked it. So I know what that's like.
So many good books are ruined by being assigned.
I think that when we're in high school, even in undergrad, we should be able to choose the books we want to read. Because nothing kills your love of good books more than being forced to read them for a course.
I was forced to read particular books to fit like a curriculum that it was like a state curriculum. We were forced, but at the end of the year, a teacher gave us one free book, and he's like, "You just read whatever you want and write a report or whatever's done." All right, so there are several books that I liked, and Shawn couldn't stand.
Go figure.
Or he bailed on like page 10, and one of them was "The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo" by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Do you remember how far you got?
I can describe the scene. It was she's a movie star. She was a movie star. She had aspirations to become a movie star.
Yeah.
And the scene that I bailed on was where she was sprawled out on the director's desk, and he was enjoying himself. And it was so early in the novel, I just thought, you know what? I was cynical about reading a book about a new movie star, but I am done. Now, apparently the story changes a lot later in the book, and there's plot twists that would be more akin to the kind of stories that I would enjoy. But that turned me off so much, not because I'm a prude, but just because it was just like such a cliche.
And I get that.
Yeah.
And I get why you bailed there. And I think maybe you bailed early, but at the same time, I don't know if it would have been a you book. Because it was very vacation reading, easy to get through. Commercial. Right. I don't like the word commercial vacation, but like
what phrase would you use in its place? Because I would like to know a better way to differentiate between the kind of books that I like compared to the books that are more popular. They sell well, but they're a little bit literary, but not enough for me. What?
I guess my deal with the word commercial fiction has been used to degrade that kind of fiction and anything genre. So to me, it was a summer beach read. I don't mind that. It was just something easy to read on the plane. Doesn't demand a lot of brain power. And I enjoyed very much. I actually read it partly on a plane and partly while on vacation. And it was just what I needed. And it was plotty.
Did you read it across
going.
7.5 time zones?
It was between here and Switzerland. Okay. So yeah, I went to a wedding. It was very cool. But no, jet lagged in the hotel. It was the perfect thing. But yeah, so while I do think maybe you bailed a little early, though I understand why you bailed at that scene.
Me bail early?
But still, I think you wouldn't have liked it in general, except there were some great queer themes in it.
That's right. And I caught that on the uptake. But
So another one that I loved and you didn't, and I don't know how far you got in it, was Seeing Red by Lena Moraine. It has an eye on the cover and like red down the middle. It's by Deep Vellum.
It's about the woman who's going blind.
She loses it. This is kind of gross, but like she has blood that runs down through the back of her retinas and she goes blind because of a medical thing. Yeah.
And the story was so interesting, but I didn't like the writing or the translation.
Okay, that's fair.
So that's why.
Yeah. I absolutely loved it.
Good.
It was really.
I heard good things about it, maybe on Book Riot podcasts, or I can't remember how I heard about it. And then I started reading it, and I read, I don't remember, 20-30%, but the writing it didn't jibe with me.
That's cool.
The story was so interesting.
The story was interesting, and the end of it was just kind of like it was good. It was good.
Maybe I should try it again. That's one of my early bails.
Oh, really?
3-4 years ago. Long before BookTube or anything like that.
Oh, wow.
Almost had forgotten about it.
And another one, this last one I have, that I loved, and Shawn did not, was Woman in the Dunes.
Yes.
By Abe Kobo.
Yes. Yeah, it was just too weird for me. So much Japanese literature is so freaking weird. And that one, I mean, it was in this woman's subterranean, is that the right word? Not subterranean. She lived under the sand dunes in the sand, and they were having gritty sex.
Yeah.
I read this, or I tried to read this for Adam of Memento Mori. Do you know his channel?
Yes.
And he did a book to film club. And this was one of their selections. So I tried to read it, and I couldn't.
Did you end up watching the movie at all, or you just went there?
No, I didn't. I don't think I did. Maybe a few minutes, but...
Yeah. It was
But
very,
you liked
I
it?
liked it. It was very atmospheric, and the whole way was written just kind of like the dread and what's going to happen. It pulled me through somehow, and it was also interesting because I buddy read it with my husband, and he read the Japanese and I read the English.
That's fabulous.
So, like, we were able to compare some stuff that was different in each one. So that, I think, helped a bunch, but I did like it.
Have you read anything else by him?
No.
I wonder if I will try another one by him. But no, that one was just too gritty.
Weird. Yeah, that I have to admit,
It
that
just
was
made
a
me-
little,
yeah.
No, when you finish the book, you feel like you have to
Just-
shake
I
the,
have to
the
shower,
sand
yeah.
out of your, yeah, that's true.
But
So we've covered all the permutations of books we liked and didn't like, but I found some books that I have read that you have on your TBR that I thought you might like. And this isn't obligation. This isn't you must read it, but I think just if it's at spot 500 on your TBR, maybe put up to $4.99,
Awesome.
like a kind of thing. And one of them I actually found on your shelf,
oh, great.
and it's Sarah Baum's A Line Made by Walking.
Okay.
I didn't like it,
Okay.
but I think you will like it.
Why do you think so?
Because it is language. It is all language. It is beautiful. Like, I was just highlighting. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm open that big. I was just highlighting stuff, and it was just, the language was gorgeous. And she talks about experimental art in a way that made me interested, that made me Google stuff. But there's no plot.
And it's a memoir, or is it a novel? I always
It's a
forget.
novel.
But
And
it's
it's
kind of
about, like,
memory
a-
novel.
Like, she's depressed and she's
Yeah.
going through things and trying to figure out stuff. But if you're looking for A through B to C kind of plot, it's not
There.
in here, which is a big thing for me. But for you,
Less so.
yeah, so the writing is great.
I have heard so many. The reviews of this are so mixed.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
And I bought it based on early reviews, and it's been languishing on my shelf. If you say so, I will give it a try.
It was one of those not for me, but maybe for Shawn kind
And
of
it's got a
books.
fox on the cover, which is this big thing in British books this decade.
When the Emperor Was Divine by Julie Otska. So this is a novel it's her debut, which I can't believe because I loved it. The writing is gorgeous. It's
Okay.
about Japanese internment camps in the United States during World War II. And when
She's a
I first
Japanese
heard that,
American
she's a
writer.
Japanese American writer. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, that's going to be really down and depressing and awful, and it is in parts, but it's also just a great look at the time and what happened, and her writing makes it. There's like one part where she's talking about how her family, they live in California, and the Japanese Americans aren't really accepted very well. And so the main character, who's a child, their father doesn't say, oh, they won't serve us, or this barber won't cut our hair. He says, oh no, only the best barbers cut our hair. Oh no, only the good restaurants, let us eat there. And just like the little things like that were really well done.
Wow.
It was gorgeous. And even though I felt like it should be super depressing, it wasn't somehow.
Wonderful. That's the most I've heard about that book.
The third one is All Involved by Ryan Gattis, which
The author's name is familiar, but not the book title.
it's about the LA riots, but
Yes,
it's not
yes,
about
yes.
the LA riots.
The Readers, Thomas of the Readers.
Yeah, he read
is
it?
the one who, or maybe Simon, but no, I think it was Thomas.
Yeah.
Just because Thomas is American, but no, it sounds more like a Simon book. But I heard about it on the Readers.
Okay, yeah, so it's
I had
really...
forgotten about it.
It's really good. So it has 17 different first-person narrators. And it goes through a story, and it's during the LA riots, but it's not about the riots. If you're looking for a history of the riots, it's not here. But because it was chaos during that time, gangs used it to settle scores. And it's about all of that. But it's not just gang members that are part of the narrators. There's more than that. There's firemen and EMS people and all kinds of stuff. And it's not something I would stereotypically go for, but I heard a good review of it somewhere, and I picked it up, and I really liked it.
I'm pretty sure I heard about it on the Readers, so I'll have to look that up. Do you know anything about the author?
All I know is that he wrote another book recently that's also about like gang life in LA, and he met violence early in his life. There was something, his nose was completely ruined or something like that. So in the beginning of this book is a violent scene, and it's covered in such a way like this author has seen that kind of stuff before. It gets better after that. If you get past the first chapter, you're fine. It's not as violent after that. So on the flip side, I found a bunch of books that Shawn loved and are on my to-read list.
Great.
And the first one is And the Band Played On, which is about the AIDS epidemic, and it's by Randy Schultz.
This is one of the earliest nonfiction books about the AIDS epidemic. It was, I don't know how we'd feel about it today, but when I read it at the time, it was just incredible. About how politicians played politics with the disease, and the medical researchers and the gay activists and all of that stuff. It was heartbreaking, and I absolutely loved it. I don't know how it would stand up today, but there's all kinds of stuff that has come out since that book was written.
Yeah.
But it opened my eyes. Yeah, it's a really great book. You should try it.
Yeah, it's definitely, but it's really long, right?
It is, but page turner.
Oh, sweet.
It's propulsive. It's unputdownable.
You like that word more than me. I'm not against it.
I like that word.
I just don't use it myself, but you're more than free to use it. I don't bust against anyone who uses it. Another book that you read and loved that is on my TBR, I actually have it digitally, is A Trib and Other Stories by Ellie Williams.
Yes, this was a special treat. It won. What did it win?
The Republic of Consciousness Prize.
Yeah. And I'm not big into experimental fiction, but I absolutely love this. I have talked about it quite a bit on my channel. She's a British writer, and these stories are whimsical and experimental. Often what's lacking for me in experimental literature is any kind of emotional connection, but I fell in love with almost all of these protagonists.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. They're whimsical, and all of them have big holes in their lives that I could relate to, right? And the yearnings and the ridiculous things they get themselves into. One of my favorite stories is about two women who are lovers in an art gallery staring at a picture, and one of them is trying to summon up her courage to, for the first time in their relationship, kiss her girlfriend in public.
Oh.
While looking at this famous painting, and the way that she ties all that together was just incredible. So yeah,
Excellent.
You must try it.
Okay, yes, and I have it. I have it digitally.
Yes.
I just need to get to it. And the third one I have, you're going to have to help me with the author's name, if you can. But it's An African in Greenland by Tete Michel...
Pomasi.
Good, thank you.
Just the K's gone. Pomasi.
Oh, okay, Pomasi.
Yeah.
And you talked about this kind of recently on your channel, and that's what put it on my TBR,
Great.
actually.
Pomasi, he was an African from Togo, and the most magical part of that story was that as a young man, well, it opens with him getting bitten by a rattlesnake, and then in order to not die, his father gives him to the witch doctor. And so it opens like this really mythical African story. And suddenly we get out of that, and then this guy, he's a teenager, and he's browsing in the thrift shop in Togo and finds a book about Greenland. He'd never heard of Greenland, and it just fires his imagination. It takes him about 5 years to get his ducks in a row to get himself to Greenland, and he goes to Greenland for a year or two because of that one book that he did. I don't think he even bought the book. He was just browsing in the bookstore. I love that, how something can just capture your imagination and change your life. So to me, that's the heart of the book. But then he goes to Greenland, and it's, he's an African, and he's going to Greenland, and he's fucking cold. And he meets all these strange people, and, he has some judgments about them, but he makes good friends, and he goes from this place to this place, and it made me realize that I don't want to ever go to Greenland.
Oh, no.
But I loved reading about his experience in Greenland. It's a wonderful book, beautifully translated. You must try it.
That's excellent. It makes me think, because a lot of travel narratives, I think, are white people going to places where brown
That's
and black
right.
people live.
Exactly.
And it's the opposite, and that's just so cool.
Yeah.
How often do you see that?
I'm dying to hear what you think of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
a
on my
really, really
list.
good book. And I don't read those kind of books, but I loved it.
Because it's memoir.
That's right.
Yeah.
And travel and everything, yeah. And he's such a good writer. I wish to hell would write something more. He hasn't. He wrote it in French, and it was translated into English.
So that's all I have for
That's
my
great.
part.
So I think to finish this video, let me check your TBR to see if there's anything I have read. Okay? Okay. Constellations by Sinead Gleason. I haven't read it, but I think we both found out about it on Eric Carl Anderson's channel.
Actually, I think Simon Savidge.
Okay. So,
is where I found it.
Okay,
But
so,
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious about that. Compared to Olivia Lang, Maggie O'Farrell, who I like, and Maggie Nelson, who we're going to be talking about later.
And I think it dealt with some kind of medical issue, which is why I picked up on it, because I'm a medical interpreter.
Eric says it's a group of memoirist essays.
Cool.
Okay. This One Part Woman by Permal Morgan. I read it at the end of last year. I really loved it. It has so many interesting social things going on that I think you would enjoy it. I'm dying to talk about it with you when you have read it.
I'm pretty sure I picked that after I saw it on your channel, so...
So, The Book of Forgotten Authors by Christopher Fowler. It's it's really interesting. I think it's 100 bite-sized essays, like 4 pages each,
Oh, that's
5 pages
nice.
each, about books that have gone off the cultural radar. The books are no longer in print or hard to find. Some of them might be in print, but there's a lot of suspense, thriller, and mystery novels, which is maybe more up your alley than mine.
Yeah.
But I still love the book because it introduced me to a lot of more literary novelists that I didn't know about, and I have read many of them since I read this book. It's fabulous. It's an entertaining read. Please check it out.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do a part 2 later, but this has been great. So thanks for watching.